Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Glenn has held his doctorate in psychology for more than 30 years and is also a former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leave the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Now, before we get started, if you haven't yet downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
I'm here with a kind woman named Erin, who has agreed to let me record the session so I can share her insights and observations and wisdom and strength, along with her trials and tribulations and stumbles and falls, so that you all might benefit. So, Erin, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good myself, except I understand from our little talk before that you've been having the hardest time getting back on track.
I have. When it's good, right? When it's when it's not, it's rough.
Why don't we dive right into that?
So with what I originally wrote in about, like I do really well for a period of time and I start feeling confident and I start feeling really good in my body again. And then I kind of start to hyper focus on all the data and the stats. And I've listened to all your stuff on the scale and all of that works really well. But my brain starts to hyper focus in on like everything from my Fitbit data and my heart rate. And I think it goes into like a perfection mode. Then it feels like my whole life narrows down and everything becomes about the diet and being at goal weight or being as healthy as possible. And then it's just a matter of time, then I'm off the rails and in the food. I'm starting to identify all of that as pig squeals now.
Good.
And there's a sense of overwhelm that's in there too. But I'm not really sure how to get out of hyper focus mode and back into kind of like more that relaxed place where you're kind of doing the thing and everything's great without going into complete effort mode.
Your pig is trying to exacerbate the work involved so that you won't be able to maintain it. There is work involved up front, and then it really backs off. With regards to using the data, it's supposed to be kind of like when you're driving and you scan the road, you're aware of it, you're aware of your speedometer, you're aware of your gas needle, you're somewhat aware of the gas mileage, you're aware of the cars around you. In psychology, we call it a state of free-floating attention. You're relaxed about it, and you're making adjustments as you go along as you need to. Your pig is turning it into an awful lot of work, and it sounds like that's what's throwing you.
Okay.
So talk to me a little bit more about how many different things are you doing and monitoring, and where is it becoming overwhelming?
I'm not sure if the monitoring is overwhelming, but I just noticed that I keep going back to it. I'm looking at the data and analyzing stuff that doesn't need to be focused on. I know that no data also doesn't work for me because then the pig uses that and says, oh, well, we're not monitoring anything. Let's just binge on everything.
What are the rules that work for you when everything was going well? What are the rules that work for you?
Well, I didn't have any rules about the data. I have basically a plan where it's specific quantities of different categories of food, and that works really well.
I just want to make sure I understand what the plan is. So you're following a macro balance. What are you doing?
It's not macros. I mean, it sort of is because I have a certain quantity, 4 to 6 ounces of protein and 12 to 16 ounces of vegetables. And I have a certain amount of fats and different amounts of fruits within each meal. And so then I eat 3 meals, specific quantities, making sure that I'm getting enough food.
Do you need to measure that or you just know?
Oh, I weigh it.
Okay. So you have 3 weighed and measured meals per day.
Mm-hmm.
And you define a meal according to
the quantities.
Okay. Is that overwhelming? Is that the part that's overwhelming to you?
No, because I've been doing that for a number of years and that feels very automatic.
Okay.
It actually feels really comforting and good when I'm doing it.
Do you have any other rule that's requiring you to gather data and monitor it?
No.
So if all you did was have your 3 weighed and measured meals per day and you weighed in once a week, what would be wrong with that?
Nothing. But my brain doesn't, or the pig, it doesn't allow me to do that because then there's so much chatter.
I'm not interested in the pig at the moment. I want to know what you really believe. If you're eating 3 weighting measured meals a day and weighing in once a week, is that enough? Is that the data you can actually use?
Yeah, because I guess I don't need to know the heart rate and heart rate variability, all the data that my Fitbit gives me. I don't necessarily need to know all day, although I think it's interesting. And I like looking at how well I slept and all of that kind of stuff. Maybe I just limit it to once a day I can check the things.
Okay.
And the weighing, I have like a scale that gives me a color because I hyper focused on the number. And so I do need to weigh in every single day, but it's taking the averages like you talk about in the chart in the.
I know that scale. That's a
Okay.
very good idea. I know the scale very well. Okay. Quantified self once per day. That would be sane, right?
Yes.
And everything else would be a pig squeal, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we're putting in a rule that says I will only quantify myself 1 time per calendar day. Okay. That's a very bright line. And then everything else is a pig squeal. That's going to help you.
Okay. The rule that I did create before I kind of went off the rails was because on this scale, I can follow the color, but every once in a while, I want to know that the actual number. And so I can flip that on and off. But I said I could only ever look at it on the 1st and the 15th of each month.
Okay. That sounds sane to me. Does it sound sane to you?
Yes. So then it's just a matter of refuting the pig when I start to feel that hyper-focused energy and basically any desire to look at the statistics or the data more than once.
You need to understand the urge to do that, to be the pig.
Okay.
Let's just talk about what it would mean to you. If you could clear away the field and clear away your thinking so that you were only quantifying yourself once per day and only actually looking at the weight on the 1st and the 15th. Well, what if you did that for the next 10 days? What would be different than it is now?
So if I think about what would have been different 3 weeks ago, that is a different answer than what would be different now when I'm just in the food. Which answer do you want?
Okay, then we're not ready to ask that question. What that means is that we need to figure out how to get you out of the food. I'm sure you started the plan with one simple rule. Did you start with a whole bunch of rules?
I started with no sugar, no flour, but I have been doing that for years. And I did that very easily for those 10 days and then added on the quantities and the weighted measured parts.
Are you still doing no sugar or flour? Or are you eating sugar and flour now?
I'm in the sugar and flour now, but it's on my never list.
Let's ask the question a different way. If there were one healthy rule that you would make, I know that your ideal target is 3 weighting measure meals a day with no sugar or flour. And I want to get you there. But to get you out of the food and prove to the pig that we're not its BITCH, if there were one simple thing that you would do that seems a lot easier, it would make a difference. It would be healthy, but not quite as healthy as 3 weighted measure meals a day with nothing in between and no sugar and flour. What could you do that would be a healthy step just to prove that we can control the pig?
Just to do no sugar.
Just no sugar. Okay. So I will never have sugar again. That would be the rule. That would be the bullseye.
Mm-hmm. Can it be a eating no sugar and not actually eating ginormous quantities of food would both be very helpful? Because I can eat a lot of stuff that's not sugar too.
Well, I know. I know. I know I can do that too. If you had, I'm just brainstorming.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel like you need a volume control.
Yes.
So if you never had sugar and you had no more than 1 plate of food.
Yes. That feels like a pretty attainable bullseye.
Okay. So 3 plates of food per day, no going back for seconds, and no sugar. Don't worry about all the specific quantities for right now. Make it a little easier. 3 plates of food, no sugar. Are we not allowing snacks?
Correct.
Does that seem easier than what you were doing? Just for like 10 days, just to get you back on track.
I don't know. Part of me says yes, that feels like a weight off, but I can't tell if that's a pig squeal because there is so much comfort that comes in knowing that I've weighed and measured and had exactly the amount of food that my body needs. So that way, when the pig squeals, I could say, nope, I'm sorry, but you are fed adequately. Go back to your cage.
Well, we're going to get you there. You don't seem able to do it right now. Maybe it's just for 5 days that you do it like this. Getting back on track involves telling the pig that we're not its excuse me for being a little harsh, but we have to set a low bar and show the pig that we're the master. So you're not going to have the same level of mastery and confidence and satisfaction that you get from eating the full plan that you really want to eat. That's my experience anyway. If you really want to work on getting back on the other plan, we can do that. But my experience is that it's more frequently successful when we come up with a lower bar.
So you kind of go back to your one simple rule. And then once you have your feet under you again, you start, I guess, reintegrating the rest.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It could be for 48 hours. I just want you to have a couple of days where you don't have all the sugar coursing through your system and you feel in control.
Okay.
How long do you think you need to do that?
A day.
Yeah.
So I think that's the hesitation too, is grains are a big problem for me too. There's a ton of them that are, but I could totally go then eat 3 plates of grain and I'm going to feel totally like crud. So part of me wants to keep my nevers and not really worry about the quantities, just making sure that I'm eating my 3 plates, not consuming the sugar, the flour, the grains, the alcohol, and just getting the junk out of my system, because it doesn't do me any good if I go from eating a bunch of sugar to eating a bunch of rice. My body is still going to have a reaction to that because it sends me into kind of a depressive state.
Basically, you're going to say, I'm never going to eat poison again.
Yes.
And for you, poison is sugar, flour, grains, and alcohol.
Yes, that I like.
So I'll never eat poison again, and I'll have 3 solid plates of food per day, and you're not going to worry about the quantity for, could you give me 72 hours?
Yes.
Take a breath and make sure that's really okay with you.
Yeah.
No poison, 3 plates of food.
Yes.
Pretty simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would it mean to you to have no poison and 3 plates of food for 72 hours? How would things feel different in 3 days than they do right now?
I would feel, like a weight has lifted. I'd start feeling like myself again. The pig would stop beating me up for the 3 weeks of partying with it. I would be back on the way to me.
This is just 3 days away, 72 hours away from freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you just keep doing what you've been doing? Not in 72 hours, but let's say in 72 weeks.
Oh, then my big why not comes true. And it's a terrible, terrible thing.
Say it out
I'll
loud.
just continue to gain weight. And I already feel the desire to isolate coming back in and just the sadness. And I don't want to be in that place.
Do you want to commit to this then for the next 72 hours?
Yes.
No poison and 3 plates of food?
Yes.
Why does your pig say that you have to eat poison and more than 3 plates of food over the next 72 hours?
Well, it has been telling me that, and it talks out both sides of its mouth, like I'm too sad and there's no joy, and it's because I'm eating all the things. And it tells me that I've got too much to do. Like I've got responsibilities. I have things to do and I need the food to get through, to push through is a big one.
You have too many responsibilities.
And I can't just do nothing as I detox or recover for 3 days. So
No way to get it out.
And this morning, the pig was telling me, because every day, I recommit and I'm like, okay, I can do this. And I will use all the tools that I know because I know when they work. It's amazing. But the pig keeps saying, oh, you're so tired. Just have a little bit. And then we can do our refutations. And then I'll be in my cage the rest of the day. Big fat liar.
You need some slop for energy.
Just need a little bit to start the day to wake up. It will go right back in its cage and, I'll just use the tools because they work. I know that this works because it has worked beautifully. So there's like this lack of motivation, or I'm just listening to the pig. I don't know.
We're using the tools right now. What else does the pig say? Pig says you won't use the tools.
I won't use the tools. I'm not motivated. Is not the right word, but like not motivated enough to do them. Like I'm listening to the pig talk me out of doing all of my self-care things. I didn't walk today. I haven't been exercising. I haven't been meditating. I haven't been doing any of the things that help me keep the pig caged. Of course, the pig's out.
What else does the pig say? Why else will you have to eat poison and more than 3 plates of food?
I don't want to feel like crap the next 3 days.
That's why the pig says that you will eat poison? Oh, because,
yeah, that's why I should.
Oh, because you're going to detox and feel like crap?
Mm-hmm. I don't want to experience the detox part again.
Why else?
Okay, there's another one. There's a little bit of like just wanting to avoid life and responsibilities and all the things that are on that giant list of stuff for me to do.
Okay. So can we go through these and refute them together?
Sure.
Even though your pig says you don't want to use the tools?
Mm-hmm.
The pig says life is too sad and there's no joy besides pig slop. What's the problem with that? Where's the lie in there?
The lie is the pig slop is what steals the joy and creates the sadness. And if I were to stop eating that after I go through the detox period, which, yes, may be uncomfortable, there is so much joy. I'll go through my day and And I just have so much joy radiating off of me. I'm just happy about all the random things that I do. A completely different life than what I have been living the last few weeks.
I've always found it very difficult to be miserable without Big Slop. No matter what's going on in my life, I've always found it difficult to be miserable without Big Slop.
Yep.
Good. You got too many responsibilities, and there's no way you can just take 3 days and lay around and detox. You can't get off of the poison without doing that. What's the problem with that?
The lie in that is that typically when I'm in kind of that white knuckle phase where we're just pushing through to get to the other side where the pig is completely caged, I do better with projects as opposed to dead time. So if I'm laying around watching TV or avoiding doing anything, I'm more likely to go into the food because I'm bored.
It's easier to recover when you're busy.
Yeah.
I hear that all the time. It's easier to recover when you're busy.
Yeah. And I'm in charge of my own schedule. So I can push anything that I have. Like I'm self-employed and I homeschool my kids. So if we need to take a few days, it's okay. But I also don't always give myself the permission to do that stuff.
It says that you need some slop to get you going. So just have a little bit and then I'll be in my cage the rest of the day. Where's the problem with that?
It does not go back willingly. Once I make the choice to let the pig out, the squeals are loud. The day becomes focused in on the food as opposed to the things that I have on my list that I want to experience or accomplish. The whole focus shifts to the food once the pig is out. It just doesn't go back in there without throwing a big old fit.
Yep. You got to chase it around and catch it. And
putting a cat in a cat carrier.
Oh my God. I had to do that last week. You don't have enough motivation to use the tools. Where's the problem with that?
I don't know, because that one kind of feels true at the moment because I truly just haven't been doing it, even though I was like, oh, look, I could do a refutation right now and that would be so helpful. And then I just don't do it. It's like, oh, I hear you. Yes, I hear you squealing. And I just don't do the tools. So I don't know why I'm not doing them.
Can I tell you a secret?
Please.
The refutations are really helpful, but all you really have to do to not binge is not binge.
That's true.
If you don't have poison and you have 3 plates of food per day, regardless of whether you feel motivated to refute the pig or listen to the pig or whatever, but you just don't break those rules, then you won't binge. The pig is throwing a subtle squeal at you that says refutations are the only way not to have a binge. What refutations do, it's like there's a greased chute and refutations turn the chute into sandpaper. You can go down the chute if you want to, but it makes it a lot harder. Whether the chute is greased or whether it's got sandpaper, you can still walk away from the chute. The refutations, they undo the pathway somewhat. They make it harder to go down the path, but you still don't have to go down the path, just so you know.
So the subtle squeal is attached to the refutations being the only way out, or yes, the only way not to go down the chute.
Yes, and if you don't have the energy or the time to do the refutations, then you're going to binge. That's not true.
Okay.
You can just not binge.
True. And you're right. It does make it easier when you do the refutation. But I also don't have to turn it into an argument because I keep hearing it's like, okay, well, you want to write it down so that it's not you arguing with the pig.
Right. And then it says you didn't write it down, therefore you're going to binge right now.
Or I'm going to argue with you all day until I wear you out even more. And your willpower is already depleted, and so it's not going to take very long.
Right.
Okay. So I don't have to have the motivation. I don't even have to do it. I just have to not break my rules of no poison.
You don't even have to be motivated to not binge. You just have to not binge. Motivation helps it all be more comfortable. Motivation is a nice way to do it, but you just have to not binge.
Yeah. And the motivation comes by doing the things, it usually doesn't come first.
Just like I floss my teeth in the morning, even though I never really have the motivation to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Pig says you're going to detox and feel like crap for 3 days. Who wants that? Therefore, you have to binge. Where's the lie in that?
I feel like crap now. So, the detox may feel like crap as well, but it's either 3 days of the detox feeling, and then the brightness starts to show back up in my life and in my step and how I approach my day, or I can keep doing this and putting off the experience of the detox, and this is a pretty crappy place to stay. So the detox kind of sounds appealing because on the other side of it is what I want.
Yeah, I find that it's not a black and white line. Like if you set an alarm to go off every 4 hours and write down what's feeling better, you'll find in that journal that every 4 hours you're feeling a lot better. And the second day feels a lot better than the first, and the third day feels a lot better than the second.
Yes. And I've done that before. So I will print that out again and I will do that. It was very insightful and helpful. Just by tuning in, how much you could see the little bit of time made a big difference.
Makes a really big difference. Pig says that pig slop is the only way to avoid life and responsibility. Therefore, you better go get some right now. What's the problem with that?
It does accomplish the avoiding of life and responsibility, but sure is a painful way to do it. When I start to feel kind of the overwhelm coming, or just the sense that I need to arrest, a break, something, to be able to allow myself that downtime. So the other week, I heard the pig telling me, and I had never identified this as a pig squeal before. The pig was telling me, you don't need to rest right now. Just push through. We'll get these other little things done. And then you can rest when we have all of this accomplished. The pig is kind of pushing me all day long and not allowing the little breaks. And so eventually I break.
Yes, that's a subtle part of the feast and famine cycle. It spends way too much energy burning the candle on both ends.
Now that I have identified that as a pig squeal, it's a lot easier to say, okay, yes, I hear you. And I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes and I'm going to rest. And then I will jump back into whatever I'm doing. So just giving myself that permission throughout the day does make a huge difference for how I feel by the end of the day or the end of the week or whatever it may be.
Very good. How confident are you that for the next 72 hours, you're going to have no poison, which is sugar, flour, grains, and alcohol, and 3 plates of food per day?
I'm confident. I'm going to do it. Absolutely.
Is that 100%?
Yeah.
What questions or concerns do you have?
It feels really good, the simplification of the rules and the process to, I guess, kind of reintegrate some of those. And I was trying that. I didn't quite have it. I couldn't quite nail it down. So it feels really, really good. I'm ready to move through the detox and get back to feeling the joy in my life.
You're going to feel so much better. You feel better tomorrow, but you'll feel so much better in 3 days.
Yeah. And so the pig knows that it starts now, right now.
Yep. It starts right now, right this very moment. Good. Glad you said that.
Yes. And 2 plates of food today because of what time it is. So don't try to squeeze another plate of food in there. Just say, Glenn said I can have 3.
Your pig is getting to work on you already. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Erin, you did terrific. I think you're going to be much happier. And you let us know how it's going, okay?
I will. Thank you so much. And my pig just did not want to do this call today. So I'm very glad that I showed up.
Good. Have a lovely time.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.